Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Game Informer Show, a weekly video game podcast releasing every Thursday and Fridays, apparently sometimes. I am Alex Stadnick, and I am joined by the illustrious Alex Van Aken. Hello, sir.
Hey, happy to be here. Twice this week.
Twice is
Thanks
nice.
for having me, Alex.
Yeah, we're doing something a little different this time. We reached out over Discord to see if our community would be interested in more things entering the feed. We've kept it pretty pure over the Alex and Alex run, but there's some exciting things to talk about outside of just games, right? And we thought this would be a good opportunity to kick this off with the Halo show, Paramount Plus's new venture into the world of Master Chief Cortana and Halsey and the elites, the whole thing. You know, you love it. So we're gonna do this every Friday, maybe Thursday, maybe Friday. We're still working out the timing, right? But the episodes air on Thursday mornings at 2:30 a.m. Central. Not waking up for that, but you know, we'll kind of gauge feedback as we go. But we're gonna do this for the entire run of season 1, and we're just gonna use it as an experiment, right? So we're excited about it. Hope you are too. But before we go any further, let's introduce the rest of the panel. For the first time in quite some time, we have the baby face, the beautiful boy, Brian Shea, in the building. Hello, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk some Halo Paramount Plus.
Yes, as it's the canonically referred to. And then, of course, the EIC. We challenged him. We said, you haven't been on in a minute. He's like, I'm going to be on every minute now. Andrew Reiner. Hello, sir.
I'm a regular.
Oh. Yeah, you might as well change your name to Alex at this point.
And you gotta pay me.
Yeah, exactly. So wait, I thought you were paying us.
Yeah. What is
the other way around
here? Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Just sign your checks over to me.
I'll have to tell my fiance the wedding's going to be a little delayed. But anyways, so like I said, we're going to review episode 1 of Halo, the Halo show. Going into full spoilers, we're going to kind of recap the episode and talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, that kind of stuff. So if you haven't watched it, go watch it on Paramount Plus. There's a ton of stuff that Xbox is doing for free trials and stuff like that. They obviously, Microsoft really wants you to watch this show, so you can definitely take advantage of that. So episode 1, called Contact. This is kind of this is the pilot episode, right? The thing that sets the tone, and I think it does that in interesting ways that we'll get into here. But to set the scene, we start on the planet Madrigal, not from Encanto, not the beautiful family from Encanto, which is the only thing I could think about when they first started it, right? You zoom out to this, I think it was like a water harvesting planet.
Water extraction planet, yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of whack.
Tier 4 water extraction planet.
Right, yeah. And it's this rebel faction of humans who they make very clear that they're very anti-UNSC, right? They view them as a controlling body. They don't want anything to do with them. We find out why later on in the episode. But all goes awry when, kids are just being kids trying to do some weird pod drugs in the the middle of the forest, right?
What was that all about?
Yeah, bro, they're podding. I don't know what kids do on Madrigal, but they're just
my favorite line was like, "This powers starships and drugs," and I was like, "What?
What? Yeah, you probably shouldn't be adjusting that, or maybe it's the greatest drug known to man." But so then the kid, you're introduced to Quan, who is looks to be one of the main characters of the show, and a group of people who frankly don't matter for too much longer because they make a discovery that the Covenant have landed on the planet. Oh no! And I was like, okay, well, Halo has always been like T to M, and like I was like, okay, like rating wise, and the Covenant are going to start to attack. I didn't realize how brutal the Covenant attacks were going to be, because it reminded me of like Call of Duty World at War, where like limbs are flying off and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, these kids are like dead. Like,
yeah.
Blown
it wasn't just like a Star Wars like shooting death. It's like, all right, he has like a little burn on his shirt now. It's like, no, like legs are missing, heads are gone.
Yeah, which like, Covenant used plasma weapons that is hotter than the sun. So it's like, yeah, that would make sense. So this is the first time we get to see the elites as well, or like some of the weaponry in the ships and stuff like that. And I think that's a good segue into what did you guys think of the elites? Reiner, let's start with you when you first saw them.
I thought they looked great. there was a lot. The budget's there to make them look believable, and I like their aggression. They posed a real threat. I thought the first 5 minutes of that episode were really cooking. Right, I was like, "Whoa, this is not what I expected." It's more violent, and yeah, I was there. I was like, okay, bring in Master Chief. Let's see how this goes. I think this is a good start.
Yeah, Shea, how about you?
So my big takeaways from that opening scene when it like coming to the Covenant and the elites was like, first of all, the elites were freaking massive.
They were huge.
And second of all, they did a really great job making the elites feel like they felt in Combat Evolved, where because nowadays, like you see an elite, you're like, all right, that's like
Whatever,
a mid-tier enemy. Like I can take him out pretty easily.
Right.
But back in like Halo CE days, it was like, all right, the elite is like one of the hardest enemies, like until you get later in the game when like the flood is revealed and everything. But like the elites were like the top dogs in the Covenant world, and they made them feel that way. They made them feel extremely powerful, and they made them seem like a credible threat. And I thought that was a really great way to establish them as like, all right, this is a thing that we need these super soldiers for.
Definitely. VA, how about you?
Yeah, they look menacing. I don't know how they would have done it. I kind of wish they weren't CG and that there was like some practical effects or something. I thought that would look really cool for the elites. But that stuff aside, I thought that they did their job, as far as being this oppressive force that just keeps coming and they're everywhere. They're killing everybody. There's no hesitation. They're definitely scary in this. And I agree with Shea where like it definitely calls back to like early Halo days where like they were this, like, I remember playing Halo as a kid and like being scared, like actually scared of the elites.
Yeah.
And yeah, they do a good job of kind of channeling that energy. I was kind of taken out of the experience on some of the shots, just the way the CG kind of moved. They were like almost too smooth. Like it was like the camera was like shooting in like a like 24 or something, and they were moving in like
60.
60.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're actually shooting on, but like there was something there was like, what's happening? But then like the camera shake happens, and like you kind of forget about that because you're like pulled back into the action. So
right. There's definitely moments where I was like, oh, this CG looks good, and then sometimes like, oh, that is a CG shot, sometimes in like Marvel movies, right? I think y'all said it, covered it pretty well. I was surprised how like you guys have talked about how like big they are, imposing, right? But I was surprised how thick they were. Like these are like these are big boys, right?
Broad.
Because like in the games, right, the elites are a little bit more lanky, a little bit more agile, right? And they still are in the show, but like I just and I thought about it after. I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense that they're a little wider too, because like if they're kind of a little bit more wiry frame, it's like that's not as imposing and stuff.
Did we ever get them to do like that little like dance move in the like that they do in the games where they go like slide to the left?
No dance move. I did catch a which I
did hear
thought was great. That's
one thing I will say about the show is they did a great job leveraging like the actual sound effects from the games. Like obviously not the voices, but the sound effects are straight out of the game, and it sounds amazing, and it's like great fan service, especially like in that first battle. I think it was the first battle scene when Chief's shield went down and it recharged.
Yes. We can get to that in a second, but yes, I wholeheartedly agree with that. So the elites are here. They're coming in to invade whatever this space. Their motivations are unknown at this point, right? But the rebels think it's the UNSC attacking. They are sorely mistaken as they start to get wiped out completely until Pelican starts cruising through, and then Silver Team drops in, and that is Master Chief, and it is a different squad, as you know, not canon this show. So Silver Team is made up of, let me sure. It looks like Riz 028, Vanek, not Van Aken, 134, and Kai 125. So those are the Spartans that accompany John 117, and they come in to save the day in what I think is the best moment of the show, of the show so far, is that fight scene. So, they just come in and kick elite butt, and I think do it in a fun way, a good tone setter for what the action is going to be in this show.
What do you think about the action itself? Where like they do the Doom movie thing where it goes to first person.
I hated that.
Yeah, I was like, me too.
It's like we know it's a video
game.
game. It's
Yeah.
so cheesy.
I know.
It's a bad idea. Don't do it again.
I don't know. I think it was fine in small doses, but like I'm glad they didn't like hang on it for too long. I will say that of that first battle scene, like they did a great job of establishing the elites as like a real menacing, imposing threat. They did a great job of like saying like, oh, and the Spartans are totally up to the challenge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good tone setter for the Spartans too. And I wasn't sure. It's always, we grew up looking at cosplays of Chief, right? We've seen it in action outside of the games, but like it's always like, what is
the
this
old
gonna
Neil
look like?
Blomkamp short.
Right.
Or
yeah.
no, was Chief actually in that, or was that just?
It wasn't. Chief was not in the
UNSC.
short.
Yeah, never mind.
So you get it, but you get.
I feel like I've seen like Chief IRL. You know what I
Right.
mean? A bunch of times.
So, but it's always that thing where it's like, oh, is the suit gonna be cool? And I thought the suit looked, I thought pretty good in action. Reiner, you're meh?
Well, I thought most of the time it looked great, but there's some sequences where it looks like it's out of Power Rangers, like it's rubber, like really flimsy, and when he's moving. But when it's just like him standing there or just kind of walking briefly, it looks awesome.
Yeah.
It's exactly what it should be. But yeah, when the action really picks up, it's like, uh-oh.
There's a shot where he like jumps on top of a car or something, and he like the way his body bends.
Right?
Yeah, it was weird, and I was like,
and
that's you're very flexible, Chief.
There was and that was my main complaint with the CG was that moment, right? Because you have Chief land, and it's Pablo Schreiber. Is that how you pronounce the actor's name? Yeah, and then it cuts
Orange is the New Black, right?
I've never seen it, but I could ask my fiance. She was a big fan of that. Yeah, there you go. And then it cuts to the next scene and he's running, and like even the coloring in the suit's a little different. I was like, ooh, like that just that didn't link up, But like VA said, like once we were in the action, I was like, okay, I'm turning off my like critical brain and watching this and enjoying the fight of this. So I don't know. Do you guys have any other thoughts on that sequence? Like I said, that was my favorite part of the episode for sure.
I think that like my big takeaway for Chief in general was that I don't hate his voice, but his voice took some getting used to. That's for sure.
He himself took some getting used to too, because now I feel like, and this changes more towards the end of the show, right? But like, especially after Infinite, Chief and 4 and 5, right? Chief is more empathetic now. He's not just a robot. And that definitely took some getting used to. I was like, oh, this is not the game's Chief right now. And it's like, okay, I can accept that as the episode starts to go on. And they start to make him a little bit more empathetic towards the end of the show, but we will get to that later. So, but yeah, it was weird not hearing, what Steve we Downs. Know as Chief, as Steve Downs as Chief's voice, right? It was like, okay. It actually, I thought it was, who's the Mando actor?
Pablo
Pascal. It sounded like him for a second. I was like, he's not both, right? He didn't get him for everything. Yeah.
He can record it at his house.
Yeah, perfect.
I think this guy's from Law and Order. That's like his biggest.
Was he like a dead body?
No, he was on the show for almost 10 years.
Oh, okay.
He was every dead body. Yeah.
Hey, he's a tank, man. He's a good looking dude. He's big. He fills that suit nicely. But Chief and Silver Team. Oh, sorry, go Reiner.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I thought the action was brutal and well framed, and they had some pretty shocking moments, like breaking down those doors and just opening fire. I was like, geez, even with the Spartans there, like they're struggling, right? Like there's the opposition is really just kind of tearing this camp apart. And I didn't understand the whole shield and bullet thing going on. Like the humans are shooting, like the people from the camp are shooting, and their bullets are doing nothing. And then the Spartans come in and the pistols are just like, there's no shield anymore. Yeah. And I'm like, they didn't give us any sense of shield pops or anything like that. So I was just like, okay, I'll just buy into this. Like the Spartans kick ass. Yeah. These other guys, their bullets suck or something. I don't know.
Because they were using regular AK-47s basically, and like, more traditional today's weaponry, right? And then a pistol apparently is more strong.
Have you used the pistol in Halo?
True. If it's Halo 1 pistol, I don't doubt this. If it didn't look like a Halo 2 pistol, that's for sure. So, Yeah, I just kind of bought in. It's like, okay, they're the rebellion. They're insurgents, right? They don't have access to top military tech. I can buy this, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Except then when Chief uses the chain gun, it seems to work. But when
Yeah,
they're
right.
using it, it doesn't
Yeah.
work.
yeah. But I thought I was like, did they even get a shot out with the chain gun earlier? I don't know. I was like, yep, okay, we're just
right
gonna
at the beginning when they
Yeah.
barged in, and then they had that Star Wars moment of the door coming down, and
Right.
then they're just opening fire, and they're just walking in like, you guys can't do anything to us.
Yeah. yeah.
I did like seeing one of the Spartans, I forget which one it was, pick up one of the plasma pistols and just waste one of the elites with it.
Yeah,
That was a cool moment.
They blew their heads off like nothing. Like it was just alien
Didn't even
goo
nuke combo
everywhere.
it.
Right. right. Yeah. So yeah, I think some great action pieces in there, and kind of what is getting me excited for the rest of the show is their sense of action and the tones that they set through that. So the battle is won, but at great cost. Almost all 150 residents of this area have been laid to waste brutally. Besides one who is Quan. She is shaken at the death of her father, her friends, that kind of stuff. But the Spartans don't really care because they're on a mission. Mission first for the Spartans. So Spartans go back to where the Covenant set down and see that they were there to excavate something. And we see basically, from my understanding of it, a piece of Forerunner tech that Chief touches. And, if the showrunners have said they're not pulling from the game, but you kind of have to a little bit. And he touches it, and as a reclaimer, it activates something within him, and it activates this thing. I don't know what you want to call it. This beacon. I don't know what it is, but piece of Forerunner tech. We can assume, and it rattles him a little bit. It would seem as the episode goes on. And then...
he had a dire wolf, like he was.
yeah, right. Yeah, he was in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They remind you many times that he had a dire wolf.
Yes. And he has a vision of his past. We come to learn. So, I was okay with it. I was like, okay, where are they going with this? I guess
It's the same thing that video games do that I hate when there's any kind of flashback sequence. I'm like, dear
Not a
God,
flashback guy,
please,
no?
never again. And they do it like several more times in the episode. I just hate like the presentation of it, like the all overexposed, the glow. I'm like, oh my God, we've seen this. Do it in a different way. But it serves a purpose, I guess.
Well,
Yeah.
and
Maybe.
maybe, yeah, we'll see. This
is only episode 1.
Yeah. I can't remember from the book Fall of Reach. I think Chief remembers his childhood in the books.
He does.
And in the... So
I
this
remember
is where
that
it starts
being
to
like a
diverge even
sticking
more.
point. Like everyone's aware that like they might be more apathetic to it, but like it's a known fact that like these were orphans that were kidnapped. Essentially. Yeah.
Right. So I don't think there's any like in normal canon, right? I don't think there's any like mind control-esque type of thing. It's just brutal training and disassociating from humanity, right? It just still, does the trick in the books, right? But here it seems like there's more of a mental
Brainwash.
connection, BioShock 2 thing, like I don't know, with the big daddies. But so they split ways with, unless you guys have any comments on that sequence. Like it seems to be setting up one of the core stories for Chief, but right now we just don't know where it's going to go. We can kind of see where things are going, right? But
when the elite made a mad dash for it and activated his active camo, and that another sound effect one, I was like, yes,
yeah,
sounded so good.
That was cool.
Yeah. That reminds me, my only complaint with the production so far of the weapons, because the weapons and the sound design have been great. The DMR does not shoot that fast. It is not a automatic weapon.
All right, Alex.
Just say, like, you want to just like push your glasses up.
Excuse
your
me.
nose.
Is the fire rate on the battle
yeah.
rifle? It's actually a 3-round burst, not a 4.
Yeah.
Nobody
Hold on.
cares.
Yeah.
The showrunner, one of the showrunners didn't play the game, so
I pulled the quote up. It was in an interview with Variety. Stephen Kane spoke about the creative process. I'm reading from thegamer.com. Quote, "We didn't look at the game. We didn't talk about the game. We talked about the characters in the world, so I never felt limited by it being a game."
So like I'm willing to give
dude,
him
you signed a game show. It's literally what you did.
I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt because I'm going to choose to believe that's poor phrasing, right? You literally cannot make a Halo show without being aware of the games, right?
I think they were
Like,
just given like, here are the characters.
yeah.
Here's
So
the
Here's
you
what
don't
lore.
think
happened.
like, yeah.
Piece
Well,
it together.
He read Wikipedia.
Probably.
Well, we can get into it towards the end.
That'd be
here,
like a
but-
guy signing on to make like a Marvel movie and be like, "Oh, I hate comics.
Yeah, right.
I'm good." Just like what's his name?
Yeah,
Ant-Man.
sweet.
All right, let's do
Yeah,
this.
sure. Yeah. Which actually thinking about it makes sense when some of the story starts to unravel there at the end. So Chief and Quan go one way, the other Spartans and Silver Team go the other way after the elite flees. Fill in my timeline for me, gents. I think this is right, but then we get to, because this is where the episode totally starts to slow down. We're introduced to Halsey. I don't know who the actress who's playing her, but
I have it pulled up.
Natasha McElhenney,
okay,
Yeah.
cool. She seemed
known
good
for
to
her role as
good to
Karen
start.
in Californication.
Another show I haven't watched. But you get a little intro into her, right? You see her as the workaholic scientist yet. I don't think we get a full look into her depravity as the UNSC's head of the Spartan program and stuff like that.
She's a mad scientist, apparently, like doing all sorts of strange experiments.
Right. Yeah. So you're introduced to her. You're introduced to a new character who we haven't seen before in Shabana Azimi. Or no, excuse me, that's the actress. Admiral Margaret Paragoski. I'm terrible with names, but she seems to be one of the leading members of the UNSC, at least that we've met so far, and also someone who doesn't really have a tolerance for Halsey's experiments, we shall say. She seems to put up somewhat of a fight about Spartans, and definitely about what I think is Cortana. So there's the sequence, right, where like someone bangs on a door or something bangs on a door. She goes there and the admiral.
I told you to stop doing this.
Yeah, it was like, no, bad Halsey. I said no, and it was like,
and Halsey was like, it's not an active development.
And then the camera turns at some point. I don't think I'm doing this in complete order, and it's a clone. It's a human clone
of Halsey.
Which what I imagine they're gonna do is be like, all right, this clone project needs to be scrapped. They're going to destroy the actual physical body and then turn her into like a full on, like remove the AI from that clone, like physical body, whatever it is, like robot cyborg thing, and then just make it an AI that she can insert into a chip.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is the first part of the show. I was like, oh, I don't like this. It felt bizarre, and just like sometimes, like, I'm getting to the point in my life where it's like I don't want one-to-one recreations of the games I play. Like, that's not what I'm interested in. But it does feel like sometimes change is made for the sake of change, and it's like Cortana works as an AI. Like, I don't know, and it's already established in this world too that AI is powering the ship, right? There is AI technology, so it's like, what? This is such a bizarre choice for the sake of making a choice. I feel like, I don't know. Maybe I'm overreacting. What did you guys
I think they're trying to show why this AI is different than your typical one, and there's a human connection. And I think that lines up with what they're doing with Chief. So I see why they did it. I don't. Again, I'm like, why are you changing the lore? Like, it already worked, but I get from just a brief standpoint of where they're going is humanity can continue on in different forms,
right?
Whether you've lost it through brainwashing or even lose your mortal shell, like it will continue on.
Or did you even have a mortal shell? If you're
exactly,
a clone,
yeah,
like, or did you have a soul, like that kind of thing? I could see it getting into that, but it's like, I thought it was an odd choice, but I obviously it's just the first episode, so I don't know. Shea, did you have any thoughts?
I mean, I didn't mind it so much as long as they don't dwell on this weird clone robot thing for too long. Like, as long as they like move it along in the next episode where like they come in, they're like, you got to abandon this experiment. I'm going to destroy this robot. And she like quickly extracts the AI and then is like, all right, well, I have it. I have the AI from that experiment in this chip. And, then eventually, obviously, Cortana's going to make her way into Chief. But I will say that on the positive side, I think Reach looked amazing.
Right. Yeah.
They did
So
that
Oh,
the
yeah.
human HQ, is on Reach, and yeah,
And the
I'm with Shea.
vehicles. Oh, yeah. It
Mhm.
looks good. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a
Yeah.
whole segment at the end of the show that we'll get to that it basically felt like them trying to justify their budget with all the UNSC tech and stuff like that. VA, do you have any other thoughts other than like, eh?
That whole sequence is where we're like introduced to Miranda Keyes.
Right.
And that's where I think the show like really hit a low for me.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the acting was terrible. I was like,
Yeah.
this feels like if I brought my camera and like hired like my friends to help me make a Halo show.
Yeah.
It was just like, it was
did stick out a
overly
little bit.
dramatic. It was rough. And I'm
Okay.
hoping it was the writing and not the actress.
Mhm.
I think, I would love to see her, flesh out that character more. But like the first introduction, Miranda Keyes in the games was always like this powerful, like badass, right? And there was just like a lot of inconsistency of like, she was very weirdly timid, but then confrontational, and like it was just like a roller coaster of emotion. And I felt like the actress didn't. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not trying to be overly negative, right?
No.
But that was one part that really pulled me out of the experience. I was like, oh, this is like really feels like B movie like
Right.
acting.
Like
It was not
Degrassi
great.
junior high, like
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Well,
And I felt that up from a lot of characters too.
right.
Or the inconsistencies rather in their
Mhm.
character. Like Quan is like this very like literally running for her life, and like terrified and crying, and then all of a sudden she's standing up to this UNSC officer, and like now she's this like, I don't know, it just feels like
It's because her family
you?
died, you know?
Yeah, but I don't know. It
Yeah,
just-
well, to refer to the scene that Alex is talking about, right? Like Quan wakes up in the Pelican with Chief.
Yeah.
She's discombobulated, and then she like Miranda offers an olive branch or a propaganda piece where it's like, please, like, you come on camera and say the Spartans saved you, an insurgent, to unify the colonies, right? And she's like, no, I'm gonna say the Spartans. This got me. She was like, no, I'm gonna say the Spartans slaughtered our village. And Key's like,
that didn't happen.
we have that on video. Like, like that did
And
like
then she was
objectively did
like,
happen.
yeah, but y'all make a lot of things look good on video.
Yeah, and it's
It was just
no,
like, what is happening? This
Yeah.
is awful.
It's like, wait, why are we gonna believe you versus I don't know. It was just bizarre. But we're also introduced to her father, Captain Keyes, that you'll know from the show. And I thought he was interesting, right? But then, as we move on through that scene, we're missing a part of it that we'll go back to. But it's setting up how bad the UNSC is. I feel like where Keyes seems to be, at least on the outset, like a thoughtful person, right? But also he's a man of order, right? So when he gets a call to do something, he's going to do it no matter how reprehensible. And the call comes down from whatever brass to kill Quan, to send this order in for Chief to kill Quan.
The admiral asked it like 5 times. Like,
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
obsessed. I was like, who cares?
One rebel, like, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
understand, and we'll get to that
Cares?
when we get closer to the end, which I found totally bizarre. But so that kind of sets up that you're introduced to those characters, and it's very clear what they're going for, right? UNSC, not the good guys that you thought they were, which can be an interesting story. I think that's why Halsey is such an interesting character in the games and the books and stuff like that, because she's objectively a bad person, but she's also saved humanity through her work. So I'm curious to see how they go into that, but. We also missed, on top of seeing a beautiful recreation of Reach, we also see a beautiful recreation of High Charity, the Covenant's home world.
Yeah.
And it looked beautiful. I thought they knocked it out of the park with that. I thought, I actually think Mercy looked really good, the Prophet of
Yeah.
Mercy.
The little danglers moving around there.
Yep,
Yeah.
they were hanging there, man. They
Yeah.
chilling.
You just want to like play with it, like.
Can you imagine one of the most imposing forces in the galaxy? Reiner's like, nice to meet you. Another bizarre twist, though. Mercy's going through the halls, and then they come to this oracle figure, right? And it's like, oh, is this going to be like an elite? Like, what alien is it going to be?
Sorry, excuse me. It's a white chick.
It's a human woman. And I was
she's
like,
from Dune. They're crossing over.
yeah, oh, that's what it is. She's a spice queen, apparently.
Exactly.
This is where I was like, this is Power Rangers.
Yeah. In no place in Halo that I can think of was there ever that kind of connection. So I was like, are you trying to humanize the Covenant a little bit more for people who haven't experienced the games? Maybe I was like, is it? I'm sure we're gonna get her backstory, and I'm sure it'll be fine. But like, I don't know. It just felt like yeah, it just felt like another weird choice to me for the sake of choice. Like to differentiate itself from the games. I don't know, Shea, did you have a thought on
I'm willing to
it?
give them the benefit of the doubt on most of the stuff that I saw and like was kind of iffy on with this, like the robot thing with a bunch of other things in this show. That I think they need to prove me why they're doing this. Like, I'm not really ready to give them the benefit of the doubt on that decision. It was just a weird thing that like had me kind of scratching my chin.
Yeah, because I was like, is this going to be? Are we turning this into Star Wars, where the aliens and the people are connecting? You know what I mean? Like, I don't. It seems like a really bizarre choice. And he was like, "Oh, you're reading a human book. I wouldn't do that if I were you."
The book, I was like, my jaw was on the floor. I was like, they're not doing this.
So just
and then they hung on that book for a while, and I was like, oh no,
read it to me someday.
What is it? Yeah, she's reading Fall of Reach. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. She's like, well, the directors won't, so I guess I will. So, so we've kind of set this all up, right? We've kind of put the threads in place here, right? But then, so the conclusion of the episode. If I'm missing anything, gents, jump in. But we're coming to the end of the episode. Chief, the order comes in for Chief to kill Quan, execute Article 74 or whatever it was. And we're led to believe that because he interacted with the Forerunner tech, something's different in his brain, and now he's not answering to orders as much anymore, or just the random one, the first one in the entire history of Master Chief. And Admiral Margaret loses her mind. She goes, "Nope, we're sending the fleets, baby. Like we're stopping the Master Chiefs." Obviously, she's against the Spartans and the program, but just like they send out the whole armada to stop Chief because he there's a scene where he turns off the camera, right? He's not gonna kill Quan.
I actually liked this whole sequence.
I do too.
Of them. It really sells the like UNSC being these overseers and like they have control of everything. And you have to jump through so many loops to like get out of their control. And you can go ahead, Alex. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, no, like, that's a great point.
Yeah.
That's a great point because like there's a sequence where it's like, okay, Chief disobeyed us. We're going to shut off the air in the Pelican.
Yeah, and in his suit.
Right. Yeah. So they have control over they're very much Big Brother, which I do like. I agree with you. I like that. What I thought was just bonkers wild, and what I alluded to earlier is where they tried to justify the CG budget, where they send everything besides a tank out to greet Chief. I was like, okay, this is your best soldier. He's disobeyed one relatively meaningless order to kill a child, and you're sending out they had rail guns ready, which if they're anything like the books or the show or the games, those things tear through cruisers, right? You don't need that for a Pelican. I was like, what are we doing here other than like, oh, this all looks cool and everything, like the Warthogs look good, the soldiers' armors look great and that kind of stuff, but they send out everything. Halsey, in the meantime, sorry, Shea, go ahead.
They should have just sent out 101 Marines because they had that line early on that one Spartan is worth 100 Marines. So they're like, hey, checkmate.
She's like, wait, hold on. And he does a count, like 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Here, take her. I got nothing. But I'm trying to think of, and then Halsey instructs the rest of Silver Team who's in the building to protect Chief at all costs, even if it means taking out friendlies, which is another good like character moment for Halsey, showing what she's willing to do in the face of roadblocks and stuff. And I do like one of my favorite scenes of the show too was the Spartan armor getting put on. I can't remember which Spartan it was, but it was
Yeah.
very cool, especially after like Halo 4 or 5 where they put
Yeah.
Chief's armor like that. I was like, oh, this is really cool. I really liked that.
Could have used more ACDC while he was getting suited up.
Right. Yeah. Very much so. So basically he gets back in the orbit of reach, right? He comes to from having only 40% oxygen in the ship or whatever, and like messes with the atmosphere. And then wait.
They have
Oh,
to
and
work
then
together.
right. So then she gets up, Quan gets up, has a battle rifle trained at Chief.
I will kill you.
And it's like, I don't know about that. But then the mask comes off and we see Pablo's face. What did you guys think? This is what has commanded the internet for so long. I don't know. What is this moment to you guys? Reiner, what is this for you?
This is 20 years in the making. You know, finally,
Yeah.
finally, there it is. There's Master Chief, unmasked
He's a
within
lot better
50 minutes
looking.
of a show.
Yeah. I thought it'd be something because we knew the unmasking was right. I thought it was going to be like a couple episodes in. They get to it right away, man.
Yeah, it makes sense in their narration and that moment of having okay, let's have a truce here. I'm going to show you. I'm just like you. We're cool. Back down. Let's get out of this together. I get it. But at the same time, 343 Industries should have been like, hey, listen, there's a different way we could do this, right? Like, have Chief stun her or something and just, it's a dire situation. They got to get out of it.
Or the visor, right? Like, you know, unmask the visor
something.
and see his
Show
eye.
eyes. Yeah. Show one eyeball or something. I don't know.
Because they've
But,
done
like,
that they did that in the games. But yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I just thought it kind of is thrown in the face of fans. And I get it. It's a whole different entertainment medium and all that stuff. But part of Halo's legacy is that mask being on. It's like Judge Dredd, you know, like in the comics. He always wears it. And then, you know, they make a movie and Sly Stallone immediately takes it off. And you're like, what have you done?
Right.
And they did the same thing here. And it's like, now that that's happened, is he going to be maskless for most of the dialogue?
I really hope not.
He didn't put it back on for the whole episode.
Yeah.
Not
and
only
you got
do
to
I
see
hope
him
he's
like
maskless,
make that dumb face when he like took off, like hit the thrusters. He was like, whoa. And you got to think like you see that now, and you think every time Master Chief does something, he's doing that.
Well, and that's where I didn't like. This is also the first part where I didn't love Chief in this because Chief historically is a hardened warrior, right? And he seemed flustered in the face of a situation that seemed like he could definitely handle this, right? He was like panically yelling at Quan to like take down whatever the AI component it was, right? He like was like blown away. The ship turned back on. It was like, haven't you been through worse situations? It's like, I get they're trying to humanize this character, but like, that's not Chief, right? That's not the Master Chief we've come to know and love, right? He is the stabilizing force, and you know, without him, they wouldn't have gotten out of that situation. But it was like, I get you're still a man, but it's like this early, I was not buying him being
but he's
rattled
new,
and shaken.
Alex.
Oh, right.
No.
I know you guys are negative on Chief being without his helmet.
Yes.
But what if season 3 of Halo Infinite is the Pablo Schreiber battle pass and you can earn helmetless Spartans and
it's just
Pablo
his different
Schreiber making
expressions.
If I see a helmetless Spartan in Halo multiplayer, they will be my number one target for I will
just
hunt them.
headshot after headshot.
I will hunt them.
I think the beauty, and I have a lot of issues with Halo 4 and 5, right? And Infinite to a certain extent. I do love those games, but I do have issues with them. But I think the beauty of those games is, right, they earn the humanization of Chief, right? Where it's like those first 3 games, he's a warrior, he's a tank, he is the hero we need him to be, right? And then in those other games, you start to, because you have that established sense of him, right? You start to, when he starts to become a little bit more caring, a little bit more human, then that means something, right? And I came into this with the expectation that they would slow burn that, but they're trying to do it right away, and it feels kind of It almost feels like when DC tried to catch up with Marvel, right? Where it's like, no, you haven't earned these moments yet. You need to do the work to build it. And we're only in episode 1. We can get to our final thoughts here in a second, but it was like that wasn't what I was hoping for in that characterization of him. And we'll see what comes from there. But to wrap it up quickly, the ship gets turned back on. They escape, setting up the conflict between Chief and the UNSC. And what was the moment where I was like, yep, they didn't pay attention to the games at all, because if they did, they're telling the worst story of Halo in Halo 5, right? Where Chief is running from the UNSC. And I was like, okay, this was the choice. I don't know if I like where this is going, but we'll see.
But Alex, they're going to need him.
Oh, that's right.
And he'll unite them.
And he'll need a weapon.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Does he say, I need a weapon at any point in this show?
No, but they shout out Commander Shepard at one point. Did y'all catch that?
No, but I was wondering, like, over the course of the season, do you think he says, I need a weapon?
Oh, definitely. I feel like that's a solid
that
bet.
And finish the fight.
Or
yes,
to give the Covenant back their bomb.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. If they already did
we should have a bingo card for sayings that Chief will have, like, over the course of this season.
That's good. I like that idea a lot, actually. Yeah, we should draw that up.
2 things I'm going to call out that I think are going to happen here.
Okay, let's do it.
A scene where he's sleeping with his mask off or his helmet off, and he's going to be dreaming of another sequence from his life. And then another one where he's like out in nature and like a butterfly is like lands on his finger or something, and he's realizing how beautiful life is, and he makes a comment as such. That's where I'm barfing all across my screen and I'm out.
Yeah, that's when you may never see me on another one of these episodes, because I'll just go.
I think I really do think that's where they're going, where they're really going to try to humanize him and take away he's still battle hardened and he's capable, but they're going to make him this different Spartan, right? And he will go against his former Spartans. The whole reason they had them is he's going to go against them at some point.
Master Chief takes a painting class.
The only time he wears painting.
Yeah.
I got a Groupon for it.
Yeah.
A space Groupon.
Yeah. We kind of hit the end of the episode, right? There's some things I missed, like he focuses in on the Forerunner thing again, right? There's a couple of things I missed here and there, but do we have any? Reiner, it looks like you had a thought.
Oh, just the energy sword was super cool.
Yeah,
like they use that a lot, and
they basically
they got to keep using it.
Mm-hmm.
They basically recreated the Gears of War Lieutenant Kim killing by General Rom.
Oh yeah, that's a good call. I didn't even think about that in the moment, but I like that. Yeah. So I think we've kind of set our pieces here, but do we want to take one more lap around the panel and just say like final thoughts on this episode and what you're hoping for, or excited about, like that kind of thing, and on a positive note here? Reiner, we can start with you.
I like the budget. I like how big it is in scale at times. And there's times where I feel like, oh, this is exactly what I want for my Halo show. But I really worry after the mask came off, what that means for your main character and what that is setting up down the road. And I really am bracing for terrible. and I'm one of the most upbeat people, but I saw that and I was like, oh no.
Oh no, here we go.
Put it back on.
Take it off for that one scene and then never again. And I'm happy with that.
Yeah. And overall, though, I thought the episode was good. Not great, but good. Like it hit enough notes where I was entertained. But yeah, I worry about the future.
Shea, how about you?
Yeah, I'm pretty well in line with Reiner there. I think that there's a lot of stuff I did like. I liked that opening sequence a lot. The fight scene. And I think that the world looks incredible for the most part, and I'm optimistic about how the action will play out. But yeah, some of like the Oracle thing and the way they're kind of steering Chief, I do have my concerns about how things might fall apart in future episodes, or just spiral into something that just is unrecognizable to Halo fans. Which, I don't mind a little bit of creative liberty. I think that that's probably the best way to go about these adaptations. But yeah, I worry that they're going to take too much of that.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good call. VA?
Yeah, I just hope Luke Skywalker shows up at some point. They were flying off into space. I was like, this reminds me of another show.
You know who he
Nah.
needs to meet? He needs to meet the armorer from Book of Boba Fett, the Mandalorian armorer,
Oh, yeah.
who asked Mando, like, did you take off your helmet? And Chief needs to have that panic moment of like, yeah, I did.
No, sorry. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, Alex.
No, you're fine. I like the action sequences, like the choreography and like cinematography of it. I felt like the cameras, like the camera shots were like did a great job of like there was a lot of like up close and personal, like right in your face. Like it felt really intimate in certain moments, even this big battle. I really like that stuff and the focus on like the different perspectives. I did not like the first person shooter. I hope we get a whole episode that's just like first person.
Don't do that.
No, but I liked how like it. I thought that they did a good job keeping up with all the different Spartans in the fights, and I really am excited to see more fights because the thing they're setting up with like, oh yeah, you can kill UNSC if they come for Chief. Like for sure that's gonna happen where like it's Chief and the Spartans fighting against the UNSC. Like that's gonna happen, and I'm excited to see that. I think it'll be cool. I like the idea. Oh, Halo 5 like is what it is. I'm always a fan of movies where like the protagonist is on the run. I don't know what it is. It just does it for me. Like Children of Men, it's one of my favorite movies because like they're on the run the whole time. And something about that format just does it for me. And so at the end of the episode when Quan and Chief are kind of racing off into space, I'm like, yeah, chase them. Like I like that. Yeah. But yeah, I'm not hopeful, but I'm here for the ride, baby.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a good time, I think, whether it's the show's good or not. I think.
Well,
Yeah, I agree to
first
that.
order of business is fixing that DMR firing rate.
Yeah, for
God's
real.
sakes.
Come on, man.
Like, come on, man. It is a semi-automatic. You know, I was gonna report them for cheating, right? Because
And
it doesn't
the
fire
gun
that
sounds
fast.
in the game. They're like 2 decibels higher than in the show.
Yeah,
like,
bro.
is
Like
going
what?
on, dude?
Yeah. I really like your point about the Children of Men, Halo 5, the fugitive angle, right? My problem with that is it's not earned yet. I think it works
for sure.
it works in Halo. It worked on paper for Halo 5, right? Because we had 4 games of him being the ultimate hero. And he'll still prove to be, right? He's Chief. They're not going to tarnish his legacy in this, but like it just feels well, because
Thank God
we'll
it's
always
not
have the
canon.
games. Yeah, right. Exactly. It's not canon for a reason, and I'm okay with them taking a little bit more risks here and there. But I really don't like some of the choices that they've made. But I agree with you, gents. I think the action has been spot on to start, and I'm excited to see more Chief elite battles, especially if we start to see hunters and grunts and that kind of stuff. Like you know, we've only seen the elites so far. And
Flood.
Oh, Flood would be amazing. Actually, I take it back. I'm not excited to see the grunts because they're going to be like way too heavy. They're going to be way like even
They're going to be
worse.
insufferable.
Yeah, they're going to really be like, yeah. So, I'm excited because this just means we get to nerd out for an hour with each other every week. So, look for if you like this, let us know. If you didn't like it, let us know too, right? This is an experiment by us, but I'm excited to because this kind of format opens it up to we can do more game spoiler casts. We can do maybe book clubs, right? The more discussion based stuff if you guys like that. So please.
There's a Sonic movie coming out.
There is a Sonic movie coming out. We will have to do something on that, I'm sure. But let us know what you thought of this first inaugural episode of this, and let us know if you want more. We're gonna, like I said, we're gonna go through the season, right? Because I can't wait to see where some of this goes. So thank you. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Your reviews mean the world to us. Your subscriptions mean the world to us. Go follow these gentlemen's podcasts as well. From Panel to Podcast is Reiner's Comic Book Podcast. Very good. All Things Nintendo. Very good as well. One of the best Nintendo podcasts out there. One of the best comic podcasts out there, obviously, too. Right. So thank you all for joining me. And then we will see you next week for episode 2 of the Halo series. Thank you. Be good to one another. We'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.